One of the incredible things about Winchester is that every day we're pushing the limits, trying to innovate and find new and better ways to do things. Winchester's been such an integral part of the culture of America, and we're doing our part as stewards of that brand to try to continue that.
Winchester AA's, they came out back in the 60s and were really a revolutionary shell at the time. You know, they used a one-piece plastic wad. They had a plastic hull that was extremely strong. It was made of polymers that are high-strength polymers and could take many, many reloads. The secret to the AA's, though, that really made them a performer was the hard shot that's loaded in them. It's alloyed with antimony at about a level of 6%, and that makes the shot really hard. So it resists deformation, and when you have pellets that stay round when fired and aren't deformed, they fly true, they fly straight, and they pattern very consistently and uniformly, which is what you want in a competition target load.
So I've been shooting Winchester for many, many years, 30 actually plus years. I started off when I was 10 years old on the advisory board. It's been an incredible journey. I mean, Winchester literally helped me become who I am today. I just think of the pallets and pallets of ammo that I shot through in my life. I think it's something like 3 or 4 million rounds. Winchester actually developed the international shell for me before they even had an international shell on the market. It was a shell that was designed for me to be able to practice with. And it started off as a reload for me and my father, and then from there it just progressed. And then when they picked up the team, they took that load and developed it into what it is today. So, I mean, they literally listen to the competitor, to the shooters. What do they need? What are they looking for? And that's really how this all got started.
So these technological peaks of development and shot shells over the time, really help us produce loads that perform well in all conditions. So if you think about primers, there's not just one primer type. We have multiple primer types that are available that we load into our shot shells that work well for the task at hand. So for a target load, for instance, we have a primer that burns cleaner than, say, a field load would. And that's a great feature to have in a target load because oftentimes those are going to be reloaded, so it keeps the holes cleaner when the reloader goes to use them. But something that a waterfowler might care about more is I want my primer to ignite every time in the harshest conditions that I might face. So that's where we have our waterfowl primer that's designed to ignite these double base powders that are used in our waterfowl loads that have deterrents on them that allow that powder to produce lower pressures and higher velocities to really wring all the performance we can out of those waterfowl loads. So for instance, like the powders, they're different than the powders we're using in target loads because you're trying to propel a heavier payload at a higher velocity. It's a steel payload instead of a lead payload, so you need the velocity. So we've got special powders that have been developed to achieve those load specs. So that's one of the great things about Winchester products is that we can really, tailor them to specific uses and get the most performance out of them from a factory load as possible. AA Diamond grade is the latest evolution of the AA sub-brand. So with standard AA, tried and true, 6% antimony content lead in that shot, right? Really hard, resist deformation. We've taken that up a level to now 8% antimony content. And you can get AA Diamond grade with a copper-plated version as well. So if you're shooting sporting clays, you can get that extra hardness on that shot. It just resists deformation even more to put tighter, denser, harder hitting patterns on clays.
So it seems to be, I say biased in my opinion, from a shot shell engineer, a little easier to develop new products in centerfire world. Shot shell, we can't go out and create a new 11 gauge and 11.5 gauge. This won't work. So we have to really rely on what components we have in there, whether it's the shot material, whether we're working with our propellant companies to come up with a new propellant that has unique characteristics that allow us to get more performance to load, different wad systems that affect the pattern performance, and maybe different lengths in the shell case. With lead shot, it used to be used for waterfowl, now steel shot, and then now we're using bismuth in a waterfowl load. The thing about bismuth tends to be a kind of a brittle material, so we alloy that with a little bit of tin. Still is somewhat brittle, so we, in our new bismuth load that we're offering up this year, we actually go a step further, and we add a very special buffer that keeps that pellet from fracturing upon ignition, so you end up with whole pellets going down range. Very, very important. If you don't do that, you end up with a product that basically is no better than existing steel shot loads. So you're paying a lot of money for a product that has a dense material in there, but if it fractures coming out the gun, you really don't have any benefit. So our special buffering system we put in there really protects the pellet, keeps it from fracturing, and you end up with all those pellets going down range, and you have a great 60-yard duck load. We also utilize our dry lock wad system in that bismuth load to ensure it has good water resistance because we're using it in a harsh environment of waterfowl hunting.
It's all about bringing performance up a level for the hunter to be more successful or the shooter to be more successful, right? So if you think about our turkey load, Longbeard XR, it took turkey hunting from a 40-yard game to a 70-yard game through innovation like shot lock resin that protects the shot from deforming, and it allows you to have great tight patterns at really extended ranges for turkey hunting. So it's things like that Winchester does to make these improvements to our shot shells to give the hunter or the shooter a better experience. So when waterfowl hunting went from lead to steel, there was a lot of innovation there because all of a sudden you're really changing the game. Instead of propelling a soft lead shot projectile down your bore, now you have these larger, harder steel pellets going down the barrel of your shotgun. And we really had to innovate in wad technology to ensure that the barrel was protected. So if you cut open a shot shell designed for waterfowl hunting, you'll notice that the wad is much thicker, and that's there to protect the barrel of your shotgun. We do that today with our target loads as well. Steel target loads, even though the shot size is smaller, you still need a thicker pedal on that wad to protect the barrel.
One of the more interesting things about Winchester is the talent level that goes across a brand like this. So it's manufacturing, it's engineering, it's sales, it's marketing, it's product development, and it takes a lot for all of that to work together to build your next 2, 3, 4, 5 years worth of products and branding and really continue a legacy that's been around for over 150 years. I think again, when it comes to innovation and the talent that this brand has, the future is bright for sure.